Hey crafty friends, it's Sharon Luska from My Crafty Greetings. I did a teaser previously of this lovely piece of paper before, and I am dusting off an old technique. It's actually something my mom taught me. It wasn't with alcohol inks, but I've managed to flip this technique around to be something applicable to this. And oh, by the way, I sliced this in half. Luckily I repaired it, but don't do that. Don't stick your decorative pieces in between your cardstock and slice them in half like I did. Anyways, this is going to be a card hop today, so the next stop on the hop will be listed below. And if you can join me and all my crafty friends and give everybody some love. Now, if you're going to do this technique, you're going to need Vaseline and something spongy. I'm using one of these foam daubery thingies, and then you're going to get out your little toolkit for your alcohol inks. You can use rubber stamps or clear cling stamps, whatever you like. I've pulled out some old sets now. I scrubbed these stamps up with Dawn dish detergent and water, obviously diluted in water. Also, don't do this. I tried to stamp it in the tray and of course the tray was in the way. Stamp on a flat surface. It's a pretty basic principle of card making. Stamp on a flat surface. So yeah, you think I'd learn. A little thick-headed. These are the colors that I was using for this particular piece today. I'm not particularly or specifically experienced in doing a lot of alcohol inks. I do some very weird things with alcohol inks, and I'll get into some videos later on about the wild and wonderful things that I do with alcohol inks. But you know, and if you're opposed to using alcohol right now because of the germs that are out there, then please, by all means, click this with the little like button and it'll save it in your collection for later if you want to come back to it. But it is an absolutely totally fun, fabulous, and very cool technique. At least I enjoyed it. So my mom used to, well, okay, so we were really poor when I was a kid. Like, not quite dirt poor because we didn't have dirt floors, but we were poor and we didn't know any better. We were kids. But one of the most fabulous things about my lovely mom is that she felt one of the best ways to keep kids busy was to let them be creative. And you know, she was the kind of mom who'd let us take the couch cushions outside into the yard and make forts. And she was also the kind of mom who would grab anything and everything she could get her hands on to let me be my crafty little self. And so this technique was actually done originally with surfaces that she'd paint with old household paint, and then she would mix up really runny paint for me, and then I would use different things that I could find and essentially stamp them onto the painted surfaces with Vaseline. Yeah, the good old tub of Vaseline, especially when it was all full of yuckies and guckies. And we would go ahead and then I would get to pour all kinds of paint over top. And once the paint dries, anywhere that there is Vaseline, you guessed it, it's going to keep the color from sticking. And I thought, you know, she's been gone for about 6.5 years now. I lost her to, unfortunately, she was out walking the puppy dogs and somebody wasn't paying attention, and so yeah. Well, anyways, she is the reason I am the crafty gal that I am today. She certainly supported every little bit of my crafty wackiness and encouraged me to create and, you know, make as many lovely things as I possibly could. I guess she's kind of my craft angel and probably a lot my muse. Now, I didn't want to get into a lot of card assembly with this. I really wanted to focus on the technique. I still wanted to give you some ideas of how to actually use these unique inky creations and what you might do to put them together in a card. I wanted to just kind of touch on a few things. First of all, you notice that I'm blowing a lot in this video and also tilting that little makeshift tray that I have from recycled packaging, just to make sure that I'm not actually touching the surface, because the Vaseline can smear. If you're going to use like a brush or something like that, you could smear the Vaseline, and I've not specifically tried that as a technique. It might be something altogether different and unique to drag a brush through it midway in this, but The other thing that bears remembering is when you are stamping, regardless of what it is that you're using, you want to go directly down and directly back up again, or your image would smear. And, you know, it might not be entirely bad to give it a drag and smear it a bit, but if you want something nice and crisp, you don't want to be doing that. Now, the other thing too that I'm going to say is wait until your ink is decently dry when you go ahead to rub off the extra ink and have your image appear. This first one that I rubbed, it actually smeared on the one side and made the finished product less white. But the resisted part, I guess, less white. So the other thing I did too is after I'd wiped it off, I did shake on a little bit of clear embossing powder and then heated it up and put my foil over top. So I wrecked a bit of that background, but I'll see if I can make something else out of that. But anyways, here's an old stamp that I'm using, and it occurred to me that on the bigger background stamps that an embossing folder might be a good way of rubbing down the backs. I dropped this. It did add a little bit of extra resist to it, but it didn't end up being a problem in the end. This is basically just a technique making backgrounds that, you know, go ahead and have a lot of fun. Pick out whatever you like. You know, this is a great technique to pull out some of those really old stamps that you haven't used for a long time, especially if you're not confident just yet until you try it that you know, making sure the Vaseline doesn't actually do anything to your stamps. And I wouldn't leave the Vaseline on your stamps, but once I scrubbed mine up, like I said, they came out absolutely perfectly, and if anything, they were cleaner than my past cleaning techniques with them. But just essentially have a lot of fun, and just remember too that when your background's dry, they're going to dry a little bit differently. Now, I also did experiment with this that once the background had dried, as long as I did not rub off the kind of resist portion where the Vaseline was trapped underneath the ink, I was still able to go ahead and reactivate a lot of the color on the top and create new techniques. So if you're looking for things specifically not to become muddy, allow colors that are not going to mix well together to dry before adding the I can't remember, it's not the complementary color, but maybe it is the complementary color. Anyways, if you're going to put down something like orange and blue, put your orange down first, let it dry, and then add your blue, and that way you can avoid having them mix too much in the middle if you want to have something like that together. And these two, you saw that I was using foil to be able to take advantage of any of those tacky areas. It is going to lift up some of the resist ink and attach to the back of your foil. Not a big deal, it's not going to hurt anything. And what I found is that foil still worked perfectly when it was sticking to the kind of little tacky ripples and things like that we get from this. But I don't know why I'm addicted to adding this foil. And I had picked up this massive roll of gold foil once upon a time at a Minuteman press place that was just clearing out heat foil rolls that they had kicking around. I think I paid $2 for this 1,000-foot roll of gold foil. Didn't know what it was, wasn't sure what I was going to use it for, but here I am using it today. So that's why everything's got gold foil on it. So there's always a reason for everything, right? Anyways, this I thought this made a pretty cool background. I had some other card ideas, but didn't get everything made. Now, one of these ones is a little bit inspired. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that background that Jennifer McGuire does, where she does like a text resist on some watercolor paper and then takes some distress inks in similar colors to this and does kind of like a what is it, like a sunset background. And then she takes oh my gosh, kind of weedy looking stamps. I don't know how else to describe them. Queen Anne's lace is one of the stamps that I used for this, and a couple butterflies. I think it ended up being a background page for a scrapbook layout. I don't know. Tag me in the comments below if you remember this. I've been watching videos for a long time. I've spent a lot of time at doctor's offices, a lot of time at therapy, and you know, YouTube videos have been what has gotten me through. They just have made a lot easier times out of some very kind of not nice patches in my life. But Anyways, so I did do a little bit of Versamark Resist stamping on the background of this one, and you can see I both have the foil and the gold embossing. These are my cards, just a view outside in the sunshine, if you can get a little bit better idea of the color. Of course, they look way better in real life. I wish I could invite you all over to see them, but with social distancing being what it is, you're just going to have to give me a thumbs up, a comment, and boy oh boy, I'd love if you'd subscribe. Thanks so much for joining me, and don't forget to go along to the next person on the hop listed below. Bye!